Hello everyone, welcome back to Edible Abundance Homestead. I'm Ginger and today is August 27th, getting pretty close to August 28th. So it's evening and I'm in my kitchen. I don't like to do a lot of filming in my kitchen, but I cleaned up a bit so I feel better about it. So I wanted to check in about my tomatoes. So for the past 5 days, maybe even a week, I have been intending to go out and harvest all the green tomatoes and pull out my tomato plants. But I, instead of doing that, have been focusing really on getting my fall garden started because at this point, I can get the fall garden started now and have a harvest, or I can pull out tomato plants and risk not having my fall garden in soon enough because, my estimated frost date isn't until I think middle to end of October, but who knows? So anyway, I figure my tomato plants are sick and dying, and they'll still be sick and dying, a week or a month from now. So today I actually got out there with the intention of finally harvesting everything, and come to find out in the 5 days or so that I had neglected the tomato area, I had all kinds of ripe tomatoes ready to pick. So my oldest daughter and I went through and harvested really heavily the big tomatoes. She picked maybe a half gallon, 3/4 of a gallon of cherry tomatoes, but I didn't go through those plants very carefully, mostly because I just didn't have time to do it at that point. So there's a change of plans here because now I'm going to be processing ripe tomatoes instead of green tomatoes. So what I think I'm going to try with these, I feel okay about the amount of tomato sauce I've canned. I've done around 36, so like 3 dozen quarts. I had hoped to be closer to 48, but I think that'll still be okay. So a few nights ago, I pulled some tomatoes out of the freezer that I froze early in the season when the tomatoes were just kind of, they were just kind of trickling in. I never really got enough within a day or two to do a batch of tomato sauce. So I was freezing them because I had heard how if you freeze them, the skins slip off and you don't have to mess around with blanching them because that's the biggest pain. I hate that job. It heats up the whole house because you have to have a pot of boiling water sitting on your stove. I always end up running out of ice because our ice is really slow. So actually the last time I did peaches, I ended up buying a bag of ice before I did I think by then I was on my 3rd round of peaches, and I was like, I'm not bothering with making my own ice. I'm just gonna buy a bag. And even then I was running out. So anyway, it heats up the whole house. It's really labor intensive. It takes me a super long time because if I'm doing that and it takes so long, I'm usually starting in the morning and I'm getting pulled away by my kids constantly. So it takes me, probably, I would say at least twice as long as it should. So anyway, so I put some in the freezer. I pulled them out a couple nights ago and I decided to make salsa with them. I was very happy with how easily the skin slipped off. I found getting the seeds out a little tough, a little annoying, honestly. The flesh of the tomatoes had gotten kind of soft because, it had been frozen and defrosted. That's reasonable, and it doesn't bother the quality of the salsa at all. But it was really hard for me to get, the seeds didn't slip out the way they kind of do when you're processing fresh tomatoes. So my plan for tonight, and probably tomorrow too, because I don't think I'm going to do all these tonight, is I'm going to core these tomatoes. I'll probably cut them in about half, and I'm going to try to get the seeds out before I freeze them. And then I can toss them in the freezer, and then when I'm ready to process them, the skins will slip off. I won't have to mess with the seeds, and I can just go ahead and make my salsa, or, I haven't canned any diced tomatoes yet, so I might do some of those. We'll see how it goes. So that's what I'm going to try. The freezing thing was great for getting the skins off, but just those seeds, They were just kind of annoying. So that's my plan. We'll see how it goes. And then hopefully in the next couple days, I can get out there, harvest all the tomatoes that are left and get those plants pulled out. I think, so right now that area of the garden, I don't think I'm going to plant fall things into it. My fall things might encroach a little bit as I continue to try to kind of succession plant some things. And radishes, I went through my radish seeds. I've got like thousands of radish seeds. So I really want to plant radishes heavily this year. So that might scoot over there. What I kind of made a mistake on was the order that things get taken out of the garden. So, you know, the first things that kind of go, zucchini, these are summer crops. I mean, the first things that go are the spring crops, like the greens and the peas and stuff. But then the zucchini and summer squash plants go. Then my cucumber plants went, the corn, and then the tomatoes. But planted between the corn area and the tomato area, I have eggplants and peppers that are still producing and that are still healthy plants. So really it'd be nice if that little kind of that area was something that was getting cleared out rather than something that can stay for another month, you know. So we'll see. I'm going to have to kind of remember that next year when I plan out my garden, that it would be nice to put things together in an order that gives me a better gap for my pulling out the summer crops and putting in the fall crops. I also would like to possibly move one of my tomato trellises over to my fall area that I've created and plant a lot of peas on it. I grabbed some peas. Okay, so I have sugar snap peas and I grabbed some shelling pea seeds and I want to try those. So I'm going to try to plant a lot because I'd like to harvest enough to actually, I'm going to try canning them. Otherwise maybe freezing them. We'll see how it goes. So I need to figure out where I'm going to be able to fit that trellis. So for now, it's getting very late. I am going to selectively go through and get the ones that are in the worst shape in the freezer. A lot of these tomatoes are cracked. A lot of them are a bit overripe. So I'm going to go through and make sure they get put in the freezer first. And there's some in there that can probably wait a day or two. So I'm going to get to work on that. And thank you so much for watching.